Welcome to another informational video on HamSphere 4.0. Each of my videos will start with this same short section on what is HamSphere 4.0. Well, as a HamSphere 4.0 user and a licensed amateur radio operator, I look at it this way. HamSphere 4.0 is to ham radio what an advanced flight simulator is to flying. It's a simulation, but it's an incredibly realistic simulation. HamSphere 4.0 includes simulations of how the sunspots affect the ionosphere using current real sunspot numbers. It simulates the multiple paths that signals take through the atmosphere, getting from one location to another. And it even simulates the behavior of different types of antennas. You use all of these things in HamSphere 4.0 as you experienced an incredibly realistic simulation of ham radio. This video is just to show some of the optional plugins that you can get from the shop for HamSphere 4.0. If you watch all of my videos, you've probably noticed that I keep stressing that anything you want to go get from the shop is completely optional. Again, HamSphere 4 is included for free with your HamSphere 3 subscription, and the HamSphere 4 transceiver that you get has everything you need to get on and make contacts. But what is really cool about HamSphere 4 is that it's infinitely changeable and expandable, because each user has the choice, if they want, to go to the shop and add other things to their transceiver, and then they can go in the editor and build it any way they want. Make it totally customized, the look and everything. And so with that in mind, I just wanted to show some of the common plugins that people have. These aren't necessarily all the most common ones, but I just picked a variety. I put them here in the editor on a button that I labeled Showroom. And so what I did was I went to the shop, either from the button on the login screen or this Get More Plugins button here inside the editor. And you go through the process in the shop, and your plugins show up here in your toolbox. So first of all, the most common things for people to get is they decide that they want different antennas. Now remember, the IDC vertical 10 to 160 meter antenna is included by default. You don't need an antenna selector because it covers all of the HF bands, and there is no antenna needed on the 2 meter and 70 centimeter bands with the repeaters. And so you don't need the antenna selector to be able to use the IDC vertical, which I've demonstrated in my videos so far is perfectly capable of making contacts for you. So when people do decide that they want to get another antenna, a common one is the G5RV dipole. I'm not sure that it's better than the IDC vertical on any band, but a lot of people like to get it because they've heard of it or whatever. Then they will need an antenna selector, so that when they go to a band where they can use either the IDC or the G5RV, then they have the ability to select which one they want, or whatever other antenna they might decide to have. The buttons on the antenna selector, F, A, and P. The default setting when you first get it is F. And the way I look at that is the F stands for frequency. And what that means is all of the antennas that are available that will work on the frequency or band that you're on. So here I am on 30 meters, and you can see this list of antennas, some of them multi-band, some of them specific for 30 meters. And these are all the antennas that are currently available in the shop that work on 30 meters, meaning that you can transmit. Just like rail radio, if you want to use an antenna that's intended for another band on receive, you can do that, and you'll get realistic behavior. The A button means all antennas. It's every antenna that's available, whether they're intended for the band you're on or not. And so that's what this list is. And then the P button is purchased, meaning the ones that you have. And it also means for the band you're on. So the reason the P button is there is to give you an easy list when you're on a certain band. You're most likely interested in the ones you have and that work on the band you're on. So speaking for myself, this is the mode I leave it in basically all the time. The green light, or this light indicates your antenna match. So for instance, let's say I select the G5RV dipole, which is a 10 meter to 80 meter antenna. And then it shows that it's trying to match, basically switching over to that antenna on the server. This is all simulated, but as I've said through all my videos, very realistic simulation of propagation and antenna properties. And now it's turned green. I go to 160 meters. Notice the G5RV is intended for 10 to 80. Now I have a red light because I'm on, it shows here that I'm on the G5RV. So I can listen fine. It's just showing that I don't have a good transmit match. And if I do try to transmit, I'll get this warning, high SWR, please select an antenna for this band. So that's the antenna selector. Now, neither of these antennas are rotatable, but when I do have a rotatable antenna, like for instance on 17 meters, I have this 3-element Yagi, and I'll switch to that. You'll see that the little light here on the antenna rotator turned green. But before I get to that, when you first get the antenna rotator and drag it in, it's set to what I call the compass mode, meaning it shows the degrees around the circle. But everybody pretty much likes to run it in the M or map mode. And this is a great circle map that's centered on your location. So here I am in the northwestern corner of the United States, and this map is centered on my location. So it's of course it's distorted, but once you learn how to look at it, it's a really quick and easy way to aim your antenna. So if I want to talk to Australia, I know I need to rotate my antenna over here, and if I want to talk to South America, I rotate it, part through this range here. So that's the antenna rotator. There's also a larger one that has clockwise and counterclockwise buttons, but I prefer to only have to make room for this one. Another very common antenna plug-in that people get is the Azimuth Display, and that's just so you don't have to try to read the degrees off of this circle here. So I'm shooting for, let's say, 330 degrees. I click on that line there. This will show the current azimuth, and as it approaches where I clicked, it slows down. So you can see I missed by a little bit, but it's probably close enough. So those three are probably the most common antenna-related plugins that people decide they want to get. The next one that I want to mention is the small LCD here. I think it's just called LCD, yes, as opposed to the one on the default rig, which is called LCD memory, which means it displays your frequency, plus it has memory slots for storing your different band settings, your different frequencies that you want to save and go back to. This one just shows the frequency, and so it's very convenient for people that want to operate split frequency, because they can move this onto the same page as the other one and display their receive and transmit frequency. As I showed in the video on operating split, that's what this button does here, is it shows your receive or your transmit frequency, and they're set the same right now, so that's why it's not changing. Another one that I want to talk about is S-Meter Plus. You'll notice that it looks a lot like the standard S-Meter, except for this row of LEDs along the bottom. Just like the standard S-Meter, when you have it in S-Meter mode and you're receiving, it'll show the strength of the station you're receiving with the needle moving. When you are transmitting in S mode, then it's your ALC meter that measures your modulation, so that you don't go overmodulate it outside this green area and start to overmodulate, and no one can understand you. I covered that in the video on the basic controls of the transceiver, and it's very, very important. Based on what I've heard on the air, some stations think that if they drive their modulation harder, they're going to get through the pileups, when in fact it basically just means no one can understand them. And it is such a problem, including myself. I would not notice my ALC meter getting above this green area because it doesn't catch your eye necessarily. And oh, by the way, you, just like 3.0, you can change the color of the needle by clicking on it. So if you find that you can see another color better, then you can change it. So when you're transmitting, you're trying to keep your needle in this range so you're not overmodulating. Well, that's what the purpose of these LEDs is to make it easier to see when you're overmodulating. So when you're in the editor and you click the push to talk button, it basically simulates your output level, your mic level, going up higher and higher, and you can see the green, yellow, and red LEDs. And so instead of trying to watch that little needle, all you have to do is keep an eye up there, and if you don't want to see yellow, you want to see 2 greens, stay away from the yellow, and if you see red, you definitely need to back off. So it's just a little thing to help you keep your modulation in the right range. And the other advantage of S-Meter Plus is if you don't want to make room for 2 S-meters, you don't want to have one showing your ALC when you transmit and another showing your power, because just like the standard S-meter, this has 2 modes. When you have it in the P mode, and I have my power turned up all the way, when I transmit, you can see that the needle goes right here to 100. That's for 100 watts. Now I'll turn my power down, and you can see that the needle goes here more like 12 watts or so. Well, notice when I'm in power mode on the standard S-meter and I'm transmitting, the needle's frozen, showing me my power. I have no idea what my modulation is doing at this time. I could be overmodulating. I wouldn't know it if I had the meter in the power mode. So some people use 2 meters, one in S-meter mode and one in power mode. But with S-Meter Plus, you can, if you want, have the meter in power mode, and yet the LEDs are still going to show you your modulation level, so you can actually have both at the same time. Another one that a lot of people get is the clock. It's called UTC Clock, but what some people may not realize is that it can actually show you local time also. You just click on it, either when you're in the editor or in the actually using the transceiver, and it'll switch between UTC time and local time. So what I do is I put 2 of them on my rig, and I keep one of them in UTC time and one of them in local time. As with all these other settings, like the M here and the P there and the T there, if you save them from the editor that's the way they're going to come up in your transceiver when you bring your transceiver up. And if you change them in the transceiver and then you're done and you exit the transceiver, next time you come in they'll be at the setting that you've changed them to. So it's really handy that way that you can have things set to different modes. The last one I want to mention is just a silly little plug-in, and I see it on a lot of the rigs that are shown on the Facebook page. It's called Lightup Call Sign. It's exactly what it says it is. It puts your call sign on it. It's designed such that it's not really supposed to show up all that well when you're on receive, no matter what skin you use, but when you transmit, it gives you this nice red kind of on the air type of sign, and it's mostly meant just for fun, just to make your rig uniquely yours. But people also point out that it helps you notice that your push to talk is active, in case you're not noticing the little tiny red light down on your push to talk button, or if you accidentally have Vox turned on and you're keying up the Vox, that this thing will light up red every time you're transmitting. So I should mention these too. I mostly put them here just to fill in the space. But the standard volume panel looks like this, and sometimes people don't have room for it. In this case, I could have put a standard volume panel here, but I don't have two of them. And so this is called the Mini Volume, I think, plugin, and this is the Mini Pwr. Mini Mic Pwr is this one, and Mini Volume is this one. And I just put them here so I would have control over some of these settings, mic setting, volume setting, while I was on the screen. But they can also be used to fit in places that you couldn't fit the standard one. So now let's see how these work in the transceiver. I'll exit the editor. I'll save even though I don't think I changed anything. Start up the transceiver. You can see I start up here on the main screen. I'll go to my showroom window, see the plugins I had there. You'll notice it comes up on the default antenna, the IDC vertical. I'm going to go to 15 meters. So this is the Costa Rica beacon. I'm currently on the IDC vertical antenna, which works all the way around the compass. I'm going to switch now to the 3-element Yagi, which according to the rotator is pointed here. From my location here, Costa Rica is here, so it's kind of off the back of the beam. And while that's switching, notice I have my UTC clock and my local clock. So now that it has switched, it's gotten quite a bit weaker because, like I said, it's on the back of the beam. Now the map on the rotator here shows me that I should point somewhere like this to point at Central America, Costa Rica. You can hear the signal picking up as the beam swings around, and now it's picked up a lot. So just like you would expect directional antenna to work, the rotator is quite fast. Sometimes you need to stop just for a second to let it take effect. But if you know Yagis, you know they're going to have a really good front to side ratio. So if I point the beam like here, this beacon will be off the side of it, and should be very, very weak, as it is. So that's the way this works. That's the way this works. Let me just go to a clear frequency here and transmit briefly to show you the Lightup Call Sign, and also watch my modulation here on the LEDs of the S-meter plus. First I'll put it in just normal S-meter mode. I'll turn my power down, and my mic level is hopefully set about right. This is WB7 ECW testing. No, clearly my mic level is not right. I went way, way over. Let me try that again. This WB7 ECW testing. Hello, test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Test, test. That looks really good right there. So that's simple to use. Like I said, you can have it in power mode, and you just want to watch and stay away from those yellows and reds. And also you'll notice that the Lightup Call Sign was lighting up as it should. So those are just some of the many optional plugins available from the shop for those that decide that's what they want to do. Again, the standard rig that has this screen and this screen is completely functional as is, no extra plugins needed.